Then look at 4A. 4A, very standard question. You all should be happy to see questions like that. All right, first things first, complete the table of values. So sub in x equals to -2 to go and find the value of y. So 2 bracket -2 square minus -2. This is where you all need to be careful. You all need to make sure you put the bracket. -2 to the power of 3 over 2. Then minus 4. You will get 8. Okay? Sorry. Can I rewind a little bit? Go back to question 3C. I said N level cannot do this. Then I realized, actually, no, N level can do this. I forgot. What formula is this? You have 2 points and you have the length of the line AB. Therefore, what formula? Jada? I have 2 points and want to find the length of the length between the 2 points. That is your what formula? You learn that in coordinate geometry. Yes. So that is your y2 minus y1. No, that one is gradient. Not gradient formula. This is your what? Distance, otherwise known as your length formula, right? What's the length formula? It's similar, but don't remember wrongly. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is gradient. This is your, this one got square root 1. What is it? Square root 1. It's similar in nature. X1 minus x2 square plus y1 minus y2 square, or y1 plus minus y2 square plus x1 minus x2 square. They are all interchangeable one. Whether you are talking about your gradient formula, you're talking about your distance formula, okay, they are all interchangeable. So you can actually it doesn't really matter whether you want to do x or you want to do y first. They are all interchangeable. But your formula sheet will say the formula that you learn in school will tell you x1 minus x2 first. So you just take x1 minus x2 square. This is a plus, not a minus. Plus y1 minus y2 square. Okay? And they tell you that it's 25 units, so this is equal to 25. So this is your distance formula that you all learn in coordinate geometry. Okay? If you ever forget your distance formula, what's the alternative you can use? Okay. Your distance formula is derived from your Pythagoras formula. So if you ever forget your distance formula, why does it work this way? So the distance between two lines, right? So let's say this, let's say this is point A. Sorry, this cannot be point A. This has to be point B. So this is point B. This is 15, 11, right? This is point A. This is 8, 8. You know that it's like that because they tell you that A is negative. That's the important clue given. So the reason why the distance formula is like that is because it's actually a derivative of your Pythagoras formula. So if you ever forget your distance formula, you can do it by Pythagoras. Or if you need help with visualization, you should go and sketch out the drawing like that to help you to visualize it. Okay? Now, we never want to work with the square root. So what do I do to the square root? I will square it to get rid of the square root. So 15 minus 8 is 7. 7 squared is 49. So I square both sides, I will get 49 plus 11 minus A square equals to, then I'll take 25 square also, 625. So we always square both sides to get rid of the square root. Okay, we square both sides to get rid of the square root. Once I gotten rid of the square root, I can bring it to the other side. I will get 11 minus a square equals to... Now here you can expand the whole thing and solve it as a quadratic. I prefer not to do that. I will bring this to the other side so that I get this. Right? And from here, instead of expanding and solving as a quadratic, which also works, I get here, I can now take square root. So 11 minus a equals to plus minus square root of 576. You all please remember your plus minus. So what is plus minus square root 576? 24. And therefore 11 minus a equals to, oops, sorry. Plus minus 24, right? So 11 minus a equals to 24, or 11 minus a equals to negative 24. And therefore you will have a equals to negative 13, or a equals to 35. There are two solutions to a here. Be very careful. Which value of a do I reject? Which value of a do I reject? Kimi. If a equals to negative 13 or a equals to 35, I need to reject one of them. Which one? Read the question. Read the question carefully. Which value of a do I reject? They give me a specific condition about a. What is it? A is why? Okay, so reject because a must be less than 0. So it's very easy. We always hurry to reject the negative value, right? But no, in this case, we want to keep the negative value because a must be less than 0. Okay. So actually, this question is just distance formula. If you cannot remember your distance formula, then you use Pythagoras. You realize all the questions so far very easy, right? Really very easy. By the way, Kimi and Shida, your school finished the syllabus already? Finished already. Jake, your school finished the syllabus already? Finished already. You know, our students haven't even started vectors yet. So that will take them at least another month. So by the time they finish vectors, prelim already. Now, let's go back to the graph question. This is not a difficult graph to draw. You may or may not recognize the general shape of the graph. I am going to just show you the general shape of the graph. What kind of graph is this? If I were to just look directly at the equation, can you tell me what kind of graph this is? It is important to recognize the general shape. Jake, what's the general shape? From the general equation, can you tell me what is the general form of this graph? What kind of graphs do you all learn? Besides quadratic, the ones that they can ask you to draw in an exam, they can ask you to draw exponential graph. Exponential graph, okay, basically, again, I very quickly recap. Anyway, I'll be giving you all a copy of this soon. Oops, wrong. So you are expected to know the general shape of all the different graphs. The sixth one on the right side is in E-math. The one on the left side is your log graph, which is in A-math only. Obviously, you ought to know your straight line graphs. So you look at this, what do you think this graph is? How do we identify it? We look for the highest power of the unknown, right? What's the highest power of the unknown in this case? Okay. What's the highest power of your unknown variable, of your variable? 3, right? X to the power of 3. X to the power of 3 is called what? Cubic expression, right? In other words, this will be a cubic graph. You generally always take the highest power. Okay. Now, that's not always accurate, because if I have something out of x in this case, then the graph will be different. But in this case, I have x squared and I have x cubed, and therefore this would be a cubic graph. But it will be a cubic graph with parabolas because of the quadratic component to it. Okay, so it's a cubic graph with a quadratic component. And because it's negative, right, you should know that the general shape will be something like this one. Sorry, the other way around. The general shape will be something like this. Okay, this graph, this shape exemplifies the quadratic, right? Your quadratic is up and down. What? Your normal quadratic. Okay, actually, it should be like that. So it should be this way. Your normal quadratic is like that, correct? No. But because you now have a quadratic component, it becomes like this. Right? Can you see that this is your quadratic component? If I only look at this part, you realize it's a quadratic, right? That's where the quadratic component comes into play in your cubic graph. Okay, you don't actually completely need to know all that, because you can just go and plot and then just go and join the points. All right. Please make sure you plot and join the points correctly. So when x is -2, y is 8. So this is the point. When x is -1, y is -1. There is one drastic drop. When x is -1, y is -1.5. Not even 1.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's exactly in the middle here. So you have to mark exactly in the middle. Okay. Then when x is 0, y is -4. So it continues dropping further. Then when x is 1, y is -2.5. And then lastly, when x is 2, y is 0. Then when x is 3, y is 0.5. 0.5 is exactly in the middle. And then when x is 4, y is -4. A curve like that cannot be drawn properly without a curve rule. Okay, you won't be able to freehand this one. But your graph should look something along these lines. It should look something like this. I freehand it, and I freehand it pretty well if you ask. It's not going to give me full marks in the exam because this is not considered a smooth curve. But this will be the rough general shape of the curve. Okay. For plotting, 3 marks. Standard curve is 3 marks. Where does the 3 marks come? Number 1, for plotting all the points correctly is 1 mark already. Number 2, for connecting all the points using a smooth curve, that is 1 mark. Number 3 is all the other miscellaneous stuff, making sure that you label the equation of the graph and things like that, the correct turning points and all that. Okay, this is a rough sketch of the graph. It is obviously not completely accurate. Now, so I will get, don't forget to label the equation. So y equals to 2x squared minus x over 2x squared minus x cubed over 2 plus, sorry, minus 4. Use your graph to explain why 2x squared minus x cubed minus 4 equals to x only has one solution. This kind of question always requires you to express the original equation. You realize what is this? What is this? This is exactly equal to my y, right? So what is this equation simplified into? This is y equals to x. So what is the line that needs to be drawn? Draw the line y equals to x. How to draw y equals to x? Y equals to x is very simple, right? If x is 1, y is 1. You can plot the points to draw it. When x is 0, y is 0, right? When x is 2, y is 2. So I have 3 points, I can draw a straight line. Now, the interesting thing about this question is that actually the question never asks you to draw. But I do think that if I were the student sitting for this exam, I would draw. So this is the equation y equals to x. So using this, how do I tell that there's only one solution? Remember, when you're talking about intersection of lines, right? The solution refers to the number of intersections. So if I draw the line y equals to x here, what do you realize? How many intersections? Only one. And that is why we conclude that since there is only one point of intersection between y equals to x and y equals to 2x squared minus x cubed over 2 minus 4, it has only one solution. How does it feel to not have to take mother tongue today? In school, be sure if you went back to school, they will kick you out. Okay, we'll see your Punjabi results. Okay, I'm on paper 2, page 25. So you see this entire graph question like that, just like that is 5 marks, you know. It's actually 5 easy marks. Don't be afraid of graph questions. In fact, for your O and N levels, you should be very happy to see graph questions because it's 3 marks most of the time. Okay. Let's move on. By drawing a suitable straight line, solve the equation 4x squared minus x cubed minus 4 equals to 0. This is where it gets hard. Actually, what do I need to do? So we take note what is our y first. So because the graph is always against y. So y equals to 2x squared minus x3 x cubed over 2 minus 4 equals to 0. That is our original y, right? We write it down here so that we can see. What do I need to do here, Ashwin? You need to make y appear. Meaning you need to make this equation look like y. What is the common mistake that students make? You all make y look like the other equation, which is wrong. The graph that is drawn is y. So you are expected to make this You are supposed to make this equation look like y and not the other way around. Or the other way to think about it is make y appear. Okay, that is the theory behind this kind of question for 3 marks. So that's why I said the previous question, I don't think you needed to draw the line, because if you realize they never say by drawing the line, right? They only ask you to explain. So I think it can be, if you just explain that there's only one intersection, I think it's acceptable. But anyway, I will have just drawn the line. Now, Ashwin, how to make this look like y? Or rather, how to make y appear from here? So I start off with this equation, right? How do I make y appear? Obviously, what's the first thing I need to do? Divide by 2. Very good. So if I divide by 2, how do I know I need to divide by 2? Because I have 2x squared and I have x cubed minus 2 over 2, right? So I divide by 2, I will get 2x squared, I will get x cubed over 2. Except now I have minus 2 equals to 0. But the original equation, I need minus 4. So how do I make the minus 4 appear? So you minus 2 here. If I minus 2 here, I must minus 2 on the other side. And therefore, I will now have 2x squared minus x cubed over 2 minus 4 equals to negative 2. I minus 2 to make minus 4 appear. That means I must minus 2 on the other side also. Do you realize this is now my y? So y is equal to negative 2. And that is the line that you need to draw. You must tell me this is the equation to draw. That carries 1 mark. Okay? So by simplifying this equation, this gives you 1 mark. The reason why this is so simple is because it's just a very simple horizontal equation, right? Y equals to negative 2. If the equation is more complicated, then this question will be 2 marks. 4 marks instead of just 3 marks. But you realize again, is it very difficult? No. Understand the theory. When given any equation, I need to make y appear from the equation. That's always the theory. Okay, so I need to draw the line y equals to negative 2. Kimi, what kind of line is y equals to negative 2? Don't tell me it's a straight line. What kind of straight line? Vertical or horizontal? Y equals to negative 2. Y equals to negative 2 means it cuts which axis? Got y means we will cut the y-axis. So if we will cut the y-axis, can you visualize, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. Okay. Must be horizontal. So you all must remember, I still have Sec 4 students cannot remember horizontal versus vertical line. So y equals to negative 2 is because it cuts the y-axis, it is a horizontal line. X equals to something is your vertical line. So don't confuse it. Cambridge obviously clearly expects you all to know. Okay? And then I have to extend the line all the way to 1. I need to make sure I draw the line so that it cuts all 3 points. Notice that there are 3 points of intersection. It must cut all 3 points, because that is how you find the solution. So how many solutions should there be? 3. I don't know why. This one very strange to me. Normally got more than one solution, Cambridge will put one. But here Cambridge decide that I'm going to just give you one very long blank. How many solutions do you need? 3. It's very strange sometimes because like later on we see got 2 solutions, they are very friendly. They put x equals to this or this. But here got 3 solutions, they decide that I'm not going to tell you that there are 3 solutions. But there are 3. How do I read the 3 solutions? Draw the dotted line from the points of intersection. Okay, my graph is not very accurate, so I won't get a very accurate reading. but 1, 2, 3. This should be the 3 values of x that you need to mark up. So this is x equals to negative 0.9. This will be x equals to positive 1.2. And this will be x equals to positive 3.6. Okay, so my 3 solutions will be negative 0.9, positive 1.2, positive 1.6. Your answers may be different because you were drawn the graph slightly different from me. The computer value, I could go and check what's the computer value. I haven't checked yet. But the range of acceptable answers for cubic curve is quite wide one. So if you look at the small square, one small square is 0.1, right? One small square is 0.1 unit. So if one small square is 0.1 unit, you'll probably accept plus minus 0.2 or plus minus 0.1. So usually the range is quite safe one. You shouldn't go very, very wrong unless you really suck at graph drawing. But that's why your graph needs to be somewhat smooth and somewhat accurate. Otherwise, when you read off these values, you're going to read them wrongly. But even if you read off the values wrongly, you will still lose only 1 mark. Okay? I think. For 3 marks, yeah, you'll probably lose only 1 mark. So you see this entire graph question so far, how many marks already? This is 5 marks. This is 3 marks, 8 marks already. Then here another 3 marks, total 11 marks. Okay? Part B. What? Huh? Looking very familiar. Your school tested it, is it? Huh? In A-math. This is an exponential graph. Exponential graph can be tested in E-math. The only graph that is tested exclusively in A-math is like logarithmic graph. Your log graph looks like this. This or this. Okay, that's how your log graph looks like. So slightly different. Exponential graph can be tested in E-math. And it's not very uncommon, but anyway, they never ask you to draw, but just ask you to solve. Let's see. What would you do here first? So for 3 marks, many students got stuck on this question because they are not sure how to continue, how to start with the question. I think once you figure out how to start, you should know what to do. Find what first? You have to find K first. How to find K? How to find K? Actually, many students will be able to look at the graph and instantly be able to tell me what's the value of K. What's the value of K actually? K is just directly 5. Why? If you don't know why, you do it by substitution. You sub in the 0.05, right? You sub in the 0.05, so y is equal to 5. K, A, x is equal to 0. You should know that anything to the power of 0 is 1. And therefore, K equals to 5. That's the reason why. Okay. But actually, by right, you should be able to look at the graph and directly tell me K equals to 5. So once I found K equals to 5, what is the next point that I need to sub in? I have to sub in point B. Why? Because B gives me a complete value. So I have to sub in the point B so that I can find the value of A this time. And because I already found the value of K, I no longer sub in y equals to KAX. I need to replace the K with 5 now. Right? Because I already found K. So this will give me 135 equals to 5 times 3 to the power of x. Make sure you know how to manipulate this kind of expressions. Okay? You do not go and multiply the 5 into the 3, which is a very common mistake. Oh, sorry, wrong. That is A. My bad. Oops. Do not multiply the 5 to the A. do not multiply the 5 into the A. What are you supposed to do? You just divide by 5. That is what you're supposed to do to get rid of the 5. So you divide by 5 on both sides, you will get 27 equals to A to the power of 3, and therefore A is equal to 3. You should know cube root of 27 is 3. Cube root got plus minus or not? Don't have, only even roots have plus minus. Okay, that's not the solution. So now I have found A. That's still not what they want me to find. So for finding each of these, I think you get 1 mark. 1 mark for finding K. Actually, I'm not too sure whether finding K gives you 1 mark. That one I'm not convinced, but I know finding A for sure will give you at least 1 mark. And therefore, now that you have found A, your last substitution is sub in the point for P. And now because you already found the value of A, you have the complete equation, which is 5 times 3 to the power of X. Okay. So you know A is equal to 3. That's why just now I wrote 3. But anyway. So P is equal to 5 times 3 to the power of 4. And then you just press calculator, please don't do weird things. And that's the last thing they wanted you to find. So actually it's a fairly straightforward question for 3 marks, if you know how to start the question. The substitution has to go in this order. If your substitution doesn't go in this order, you won't be able to find the value of K. You need to find the value of K first so that you can find A. Then you have to find A first, then you can find P. So it has to be done in this sequence.